What's up, beautiful?
Oh, not much. Just that slightly sweaty post run around kind of feeling, where it's not like you've been actively exerting yourself, but you've sort of been a little bit busy, and then you sit down and you're just kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, yeah.
You say sweaty?
Yeah. When you've just been like moving about.
Yeah. Gross.
But it's not like
Your house
sweaty
looks
sweaty.
cool.
Do you know what I mean? Where it's just like I guess it's like warm. Maybe that's what I'm getting at. Where you're just a little bit like you've
Um,
been flustered, you've been running around a bit.
did you shower today?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't stink,
No,
at
you know
least.
what I'm talking about, surely. Every time you
Yeah, I
run
don't.
in and pod after like you've just rushed in from work or something like that, you're just like, you're in that little bit that fluster mode.
Sure. You're flustered. You're flustered.
Yeah. Not emotionally, but physically.
So I have a brand new Mac,
Oh,
and um, but I just realized that, well, just before while I was setting up that I need it's all got those USB-C ports.
yeah.
So I need to change all my cables or buy a dock
Yeah, by a little
or a
dongle.
hub, I think
Yeah.
it's called.
Yeah.
So that'll be for next time. But yeah.
That's exciting. There's that a work acquisition.
Yeah.
What did you
Yeah.
get? A MacBook standard, MacBook Air, MacBook Pro?
MacBook Pro, I think it's 16 inch,
Yes, nice.
2020 model. It's
2020 is
very
an
nice.
M1.
Very nice to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
2020 is an M1. No, sorry.
Nailed me.
Yeah.
You showed me.
What was I going to ask you? Nah, gone.
That's a good start to the podcast. Just the
You were
silence of
groomed.
uncertainty.
You were. That should be the name of this podcast, I think.
Wow,
Quite
we
good.
got that very early.
You went. You said you were fitting for a suit.
Yeah. Suit shopping for
Get some
Ben's.
stories out of that.
I've got the story of what we did, but I don't know it's like classically entertaining, but we can give it a crack. I
I
um
want to hear about it.
I went suit shopping today with the groomsmen for Ben's wedding, which
Yep.
was coming up in January. Um, and it's the most uh, difficult part of it, I suppose, is just like colors. Like I don't know what
So he hadn't decided the colors.
he had decided
Yeah.
on a blue, but here's the issue, um, and it wasn't like a dramatic issue, but this was the challenge we faced as four straight white guys. The aesthetic of the bridesmaids was like an autumnal palette. So there was
Okay.
different colored dresses for each of them. Bride obviously different again, but then four bridesmaids, one in like a russet, one in like a bronze, one in like a green, and one in like a I think like a deep purple or something like that. Like
Purple.
quite sort of distinct, four distinct semi-saturated autumn kind of colors, plus the bride.
Right.
And then groom is in like a dark suit with like a blue pinstripe, quite classy. And then the choice came for the groomsmen, and that became like an interesting kind of color puzzle because
Is this all happening at the place? This conundrum, this choosing?
no, so the bridesmaids aren't with us, but we had basically gone to like a couple of malls to look around at a few different places, see what was out there, and make a sort of plan. So we
Right.
had the idea that it was going to be a blue, but then the interesting challenge became like, okay, so we need to find some kind of blue that complements the groom, but then also are we all different colors as well, like the bridesmaids are? Are we all wearing the same suit
Yeah.
or not? And is there a color that goes with a black suit with blue pinstripes, the bride, and then four different autumn colors for the bridesmaids? And trying to find something that hit all of those criteria was actually like a little bit of a head scratcher to work out where it was going to end up.
Okay. And so what you land on?
We did end up going for like a darkish blue suit. In fact, I have.
Put it on. Get your kid off. Hey,
So yeah, this
looking
is where we
very
ended up.
nice.
Yeah, so it's quite a nice sort of, I don't know what you call it, like a navy blue, a royal blue. It's probably not royal.
Yeah, I reckon it's closer to navy than royal.
Yeah.
Love
So
it.
It's
great.
pretty classy.
Very classy,
Yeah.
and you've obviously beefed it out a little bit since your last suit
Well, that's why I needed to buy
measuring,
a new suit.
I guess.
Yeah, it's like a. Oh, I can't actually. Should be in front of the microphone if I'm on a podcast.
No one cares.
Okay, well they couldn't hear me last time. Yeah, I my last suit doesn't fit me at all. It's it's very very revealing of certain places. So that was one of the benefits
Your
of
penis?
getting the penis. The penis is on full display.
Penis area. The penis place.
The penis zone. But that was one of the benefits of having a few weddings coming up, is hopefully leaving the suit shopping to the last dish minute would allow this to then be a suit which fits me for a while and that I can reuse for a bunch of the things coming up, rather than buying too early and then changing sizes again.
So you have to buy the suit.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I think typically, I don't want to cause any,
Yeah,
cause
I mean,
any
Ben does
dramas
listen
here,
to
but
this
I think
podcast.
typically, I think the groom would buy or at least rent the suits of his groomsmen. But I don't know. Maybe they do things differently in New Zealand.
Yeah, I think that's perhaps budget dependent. I certainly wasn't unhappy to purchase a suit knowing that I will hopefully get a few good years and other weddings out of it.
You would have been happier if you didn't have to pay for it, though.
Sure.
Actually,
We did get, I will tell you,
time-
we bought the suit and it came with free shoes. So we bought it at this place, bought a suit, $80 pair of shoes, just chucked in the bag for free.
Fuck yeah.
Well, it was like a lottery, though. It doesn't fit me. They're the wrong size. They just like grab some shoes off the shelf and just put them in. So it's a bit useless, but I like the idea.
And they're not the same color, which is
they're mismatched. Yeah.
very odd.
I'm just going to hang up this jacket.
Okay. I'll just shut up. I was just saying that I wasn't just saying. I was going to say before you rudely got up and put away your jacket.
Okay.
That when I was a groomsman for Michael O'Dwyer's wedding, they rented this. I think it was a rent of the suit. So we went and all got fitted all together, and then you got to keep the shoes.
Oh. So
he bought the shoes.
He bought shoes for everyone, and you got to keep them.
He bought shoes for the groomsmen.
Can you rent shoes, though? Is that just a thing where they're like, nah, you don't get to rent these and hand them back? It's not like at a bowling alley.
I suppose you could, but yeah, maybe you scuff them up and stuff. But it's like it's a nice little gift. He also got us all gifts. I don't know if Ben did that for you, but
well, it hasn't been the wedding yet, so I don't know.
No, I mean he got all the groomsmen's gifts, asking us to be groomsmen. He said, "Will you be my groomsman?" And then gave us a gift. Very classy, that Michael O'Dwyer.
That's quite classy.
And speaking of classy Michael O'Dwyer's, he and Katie have just had another baby.
Oh, congrats, Odie. That's exciting.
Yeah, congrats, guys. Little baby Isabel.
Oh, I don't like the name, so that's a shame. No, that's
like...
It's like, oh, this is Isabel. Oh. Oh, is it too late to... No, you're sticking with that? No,
I really like that bit. I'll probably use that.
Yeah, that's good.
With an A? This one's with an A.
With an A? What? How else would you spell it?
Oh, yeah. I was thinking Isobel.
No. Oh, actually, you're right. Yeah, there are some Isos. Yeah.
Isobel.
Yeah, Isabel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, congrats.
So, yeah, I haven't received a gift from Ben, but that's okay. I wouldn't have expected it. It's an interesting dynamic as well. Like, you're holding a present and you're like, so look at this. Give it a little bit of shake. do you want to be my groomsman? And then you're half handed over, and then they're feeling like, well, I can't say no. You've got this bottle of shardy in front of me. Like it's
Yeah.
you've kind of already sealed the deal. It's quite a good power move there to seal the deal.
Yeah.
To get the
And
outcome.
when Odie did it with me, he got down on one knee as well. I think he was just in the zone.
He was practicing.
was
He
high.
hasn't yet
It's
proposed
like,
to
this
her
is-
yet.
this
But
is- This has never not worked for me when I've wanted
one
to
out
get
of one times.
something, you know. So now he just does it at Coles sometimes.
yeah, when he goes to Wendy's and wants an extra scoop, they just get down on one knee.
I remember Wendy's.
Oh, they used to be the place.
Yeah.
Wendy's hot dogs. Hot dog? You ever have a hot dog?
Oh, I was just talking about them the other day. Love those hot dogs.
With the garlic butter. You used to
They
go to
just
get garlic butter.
I like that they toasted the bun by just putting the bun over this hot rod.
Yeah. It's always a little bit sensual.
Yeah, very sensual. I wish I was the bun.
Oh, welcome to Deep Forward, everybody. This is a podcast. It's not always quite that weird, but it sometimes is, and that's part of the charm. Sitting through the internet with me, my friend Michael. Hey, how you doing?
Hello?
And my name's Nick. Thank you for asking. I'm doing well today. And what a pleasure to be back. Feels like a little bit long this time in between apps.
Yeah, that's my bad. I think I'm gonna have to it's gonna have to be a weekend thing for me now these days, with working a bit later and commuting is a bit later.
Can you talk new job at all?
Yeah, I have another job, you know, in kind of media and comms. I won't say where,
Yeah.
but you can find me on LinkedIn if you want. Yeah, no, it's 2 weeks in.
Getting
in
your
a kind
sea
of a
legs.
big office. Yeah, starting to get like properly into some work now, which is good. There's an interesting dynamic in the office between like my manager and her boss, which is like the senior manager, where they clearly hate each other. So that's fun to walk into. The building, you know, I worked at the zoo for like 2 years, so I was always walking around. And
What?
yeah,
What?
can't
Okay.
catch me now, baby.
God, that came out
hid-
of nowhere. You worked at a zoo
I worked at a zoo,
for
baby.
2 years. God, you kept that quiet. You kept that real
Well,
quiet.
I'm not sure if I told you this, but when I got that job, they were very, I actually mentioned on my resume, I think, or maybe in the interview that I did a podcast, thinking that would kind of be, you know, oh, he's, you know, does things on the side and, you know, he's got like a creative
media
thing or
experience,
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like, that might be a problem. Because they thought it might be a conflict of interest. They thought, first of all, I think they thought that we had over, you know, 12 listeners. Which was their first mistake. They're just thinking, oh, this might be like a newsy podcast.
Yeah.
And we're like worried that I was, I don't know, leak information about the zoo. But now I don't work for them and I can
Say whatever
tell you
want.
all the secrets about the zoo.
Yeah. Yeah.
I won't though, because I'm scared of
the
them
zoo
still.
papers, the Panama Papers. That doesn't quite work. There's not enough of a pun there.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
They don't all have to be great.
And they really are.
But yeah, the other thing is now, so that was to say that now I'm working in this like building and there's not like heaps of natural light. I mean, there is, but in my office there isn't. So I have to get used to that. I've been taking myself for walks every day and they kind of think that's weird. Like on my, like
On a
I'll
lunch
just
break?
between, you know, well,
Or just
there
like
is
a
no
coffee
lunch.
break?
Like, just whenever. Like I'll just go out for walks whenever.
Just sporadically not in the office when people go to look for you.
Well, I don't like being in the office. I'm a wild animal, Nick.
You worked at a zoo.
Yeah,
Don't you think that is an unfortunate comparison?
sure.
I'm a wild animal, and where I've chosen to
I
spend my
deserve-
hours is
I need
with
to
a
be
lot
out
of
in my
locked
natural
up animals.
habitat. Yeah, didn't think that through.
Okay, so
Anyway,
no,
fuck
give me
zoos, they're terrible.
what?
I'm just joking. I just thought it'd be funny to say that zoos were terrible.
What? So walk me through these walks.
Yeah.
First one of
So
the day. When are we talking?
maybe 10:45. I'll
Okay.
pop it. I'm on the 5th floor. I shouldn't say
Uh-huh.
that. I'm on a floor. And
Oh,
I'll take the
people are going
elevator
to find
down.
you now.
They could put it together. They could. They couldn't get through anyway. So I take the elevator down. The
'Cause of the
elevator's fun
security.
because it goes pretty fast for an elevator, which you get a bit of a head rush. So I think that's maybe part of what I like. You know, get like a vroom, like that feeling of falling. And then I will, just walk around the block at 10:45. Is your call coming in? Is that what you're saying?
I just keep getting messages from KC about the suits because he, not to backtrack too far, but they didn't have his size at the store we were in, so he's had to go pick it up elsewhere. And it's just they're charging him more than it should be.
But he's not in the groom's party?
Yeah, he is.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, Ben's just got like a 2-for-1 deal there.
Yeah.
It's like,
so there's.
am I in the groom's party and I don't know about it?
I don't believe so. I think you probably would have been invited. Sorry. The elevator gives you a head rush.
You came back into that so frosty. Yeah, elevator, head rush, and I will just walk around the block. I also work near a university, so it feels like I'm back in university a little bit. So I'll just go line the lawns. Maybe.
It wouldn't feel like university for you unless you saw me with my headphones in, laughing to myself as I wandered through the quadrant. So it can't be the full 2010 experience.
Those were the days, man. But it does. I think there's a bit of like nostalgia for that. Just like I'll sit in the park, but now I feel like one of the lecturers. Like I feel distinctly older.
Yeah, they're all babies
than the uni students. But there's like a couple over there. Like this is all lying down on the university lawns. There's like a couple canoodling, and then there's someone reading a textbook over there, and then there's a group of friends playing, I don't know, hacky sack, and I'm like, these kids, they've got their whole lives ahead of them. I really feel that, that role that I'm stepping into.
What role though? Like you're not going to walk up to random uni students and be like, "Oh, got any questions?"
I might do that.
Learn from your elders. Here is what I have accumulated in my years on this planet.
Well, I think my with the rate that I'm going grey at, I think I could pass off as a lecturer.
Yeah, but what in?
Probably philosophy.
Oh, I don't think you'd know.
Good vibes?
Nah, I don't buy you as a philosophy lecturer. You're too hip. You're too well put together.
Whoa, keep them coming, baby. What else am I too? Don't mix it up with an insult.
Damn it!
Don't mix it up.
That's where I was going next, and you saw it coming. I don't know what you'd be a lecturer in. I could see you in like a media studies.
Okay, well, that's what I do, so
that
makes sense.
Yeah,
maybe like English.
Yeah, but not like a classics lecturer, like the English teacher who'd study like Looking for Alibrandi or like a 2002 era movie. Not someone who's like read lots of books.
Yeah, maybe film studies.
Yeah.
Okay. Why are you smiling like that?
Because I can see it now. I just, I was thinking back to my film studies classes and trying to picture what the lecture looked like. And I reckon in retrospect, you're sort of in the zone.
I love it. Thank you. I did romanticize for a while because my folks wanted me to be a teacher. Like that's what they were kind of pushing on me. Well, not pushing on me, but they were heavily encouraging me to
getting into the family business.
Well, that's the thing. Everyone in my family is a teacher, and I think that's why I didn't want to be a teacher. But also, being a teacher is weird because you just spend your whole life in a school. You just recycle?
Unless you're at university, but yeah,
the knowledge.
Yeah.
But I think like the image, the aesthetic of like a 30-something's teacher who parties. He parties.
The film
he's got
studies
kind of
students definitely do.
He's got a bit of a sassy sense of humor. And he'll sass with the kids, but he loves them. Ultimately, he loves them a lot. He cares for them. But there's something about him.
Are you picturing like a Robin Williams type?
I was thinking more like a Paul Rudd type.
A Paul Rudd type? Jeez.
Like he did a movie called, I can't remember what it's called, but he played like this character. He was a university lecturer.
A movie called, I can't remember what it's called, but he played this character. It's quite a confusing title to Google.
Has like a beard. He has, relationship issues, of course. And he has a slight drinking problem.
How do you have a slight drinking problem?
Functioning alcoholic.
Okay. So the drinking problem only affects himself, and that's why it's slight. Okay. I'll buy it.
Yeah, it never affects his work, but he's drinking a bit too much just to quieten the voices in his head.
This is sounding biographical.
We're still... we're talking about Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd. Just reiterate.
Yeah.
This is a Paul Rudd movie. I don't know how we got into that. Anyway, started a new job. It's going all right. Thanks for asking.
And you got a laptop. Yeah.
Got a laptop. What have you got?
I'm just going to grab my power cable, which is somewhere down the back here.
This is probably the first time I've ever seen you a bit like frazzled and flustered.
Well,
you really are. It's coming through. You're all over the shop, mate. You're a mess.
I'm a mess. Pits are sweaty. Mum's spaghetti. Knees weak.
Ugh.
Arms spaghetti.
Love your bars, dude.
Yeah. Well, I've already proven my rapping chops on this podcast. I don't need to do it every time.
That's true. Who's calling you? Which call are you waiting for? Which customer service?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. So I've had. This is not a very interesting story, but I'm gonna tell it with gusto, and I think that will make it worthwhile.
It's interesting because you're in a different state than I think the listeners are used to. Okay. Well, maybe it's not coming. Is it coming
across? It's coming across. Physically.
I'm picking up on it big time, and I'm not observant.
I think my pits. Yeah, there's a little. Yep, you can see it physically.
Never do that again.
Yeah, there's grossness. Yeah.
So
I just feel like
gross. I didn't even. Nick, never do that to me again.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Seriously.
Can just feel it.
Seriously, never do that.
Okay.
Fucking gross. Fucking gross. Okay.
Well, I feel like now you're being a little bit mean about it. That's just
get on with the story.
It's just fucking biology, and you brought it up.
Okay, if it's just fucking biology, I'll just pull my pants down.
You have on this podcast pulled your pants down.
Oh yeah,
just like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I think we posted that clip as well.
You posted it, but with the fucking cowards emoji over it.
Yeah, well, we'll get fucking flagged. We'll get shadow banned on Instagram.
We'll lose all of our followers.
And then how will people know?
How will people know?
Then how will they know where the podcast is?
Anyway, I'm waiting for a call from Apple. It's a boring tech problem that I'm having with some iMessages that's been plaguing me for a few months, and I have had several hours worth of calls with their customer service people trying to sort it. And the fun thing is, now I've been escalated so far up the chain that I have like first name basis with some of these people and a private email address. I have like a customer service form. This is true. I have a customer service form which lets me leave voicemail messages for my individual customer service agent. I'm dealing with the same person every time now. It's got to that level. And his name's Tim Cook. And I am just on a one-to-one relationship as we try to sort this shit out. But
you've taken your complaining to a new level.
It's not even like complaining. I just want the fucking thing fixed, and they don't know what.
Can you tell me what the problem is? I'm dying to know.
It's okay. This isn't worth it. But So for iPhone users sending a direct message, like a text message to other iPhone users, it uses the iMessage service. I can text
Yeah.
two of my friends. If I message them individually, it's a blue iMessage bubble. If I message them together, even though it should be a 3-person group iMessage, instead it sends it as an SMS and it splits off the chat into 2 different people. And so then if they respond to me, it's not a group thing. They both come back as separate threads. And so I can text them individually fine as an iMessage, but I just can't get the fucking group thing to become an iMessage. And it used to be the case that it was a group message, and now it's just turned into an SMS, and no one knows the fuck why. So it's just frustrating because I use it for good grief writing, and the 3 of us are trying to coordinate this shit, like, when can you plan this stuff? Or when can we, send this off together? And you can't fucking do a group message when all the SMSs keep splitting off into 2 different people's threads. It's very...
That would be very annoying.
So anyway, I've been trying to resolve this now for a couple of weeks, a few phone calls in, and long story short, the guy that I was dealing with doesn't work Thursdays and Fridays. So he said, can I get back to you on Saturday? And I picked a time that I wanted him to call me, and he hasn't called me. So that's why I was hanging around.
Story of your life.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Which is...
I would have expected Apple to be on the ball with
that. To their credit, calling Apple is like the loveliest customer service experience you can have. You if you have an issue with them and you go through the app thing to request help, it'll say estimated call wait time 2 minutes, and you press the thing, and you press 1, I'm ready for this call, please speak to me, and I will honestly get in touch with a human person speaking to me within 30 seconds of dialing Apple every single fucking time. It is like magic. It is like magic. And when you compare it to this fucking, process I had with Amazon Prime trying to deal with an issue a couple of months ago, or with Uber trying to resolve their fucking delivery system, God, am I appreciative of actual good customer service.
But they still haven't called you.
They haven't called me, but yeah, as a whole, that process always seems easier with Apple.
Okay. Well, I hope they get in touch.
Yeah. So otherwise, I've been in a pretty normal state of affairs with work and everything. So nothing much to report on that end.
Great.
Did you have any topics for today?
Not really a topic, but did you see that James Corden being a dick got in the news?
Yeah, I did see that.
That's
it
fun.
made me happy.
It made me really happy.
Do you see that he then apologized and was let back in, is the thing?
Yeah. So do you know what happened? I've got the article up here if it's worth it, but it looks
he
like
was
he was
rude
out
to waiters at a restaurant.
Okay, if you want to just cut right to the chase.
You fucking asked me to. You literally said it like 10 seconds ago.
Well, it's validating, isn't it, Nick? Because we've always said that James Corden is the fucking worst. And to have him banned by a New York restaurateur, that's a fantastic.
I went to his show. I think I told you that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said it
For
on
those
here.
who don't remember or weren't listening back then, when I was working on a TV show about 4 years ago now, I went over to LA to do some filming, and one of the things we got to do was go and watch a taping of Corden, and he was just really unpleasant. When we were there in the audience, he literally never said a single word to us. Famously, if you go and see Colbert, he'll come out and greet the audience beforehand, answer some questions. Same for Fallon, same for Myers, that kind of thing. There's obviously a warm-up act who gets the crowd going because they want loud applause and that sort of thing, and then off the show goes. But the warm-up act was Reggie Watts, who seems lovely and was doing all the fucking heavy lifting, because he, as in Corden, when it was time to go, walked on stage, didn't acknowledge the audience, didn't say hello to anyone, didn't talk to anyone. In between the ad breaks, when they were resetting for the next interview or that sort of thing, he did not address the audience. He did not look at the audience. when there was a band, they would stand him in the stand, like amongst audience members, so that they could then throw to the band that was set up on the front of the thing. And so he was literally standing side by side, right in the mix next to everyone. And all he was doing was just on his phone, flicking Twitter. Didn't look at anyone around him, didn't speak to anyone around him. Then at the end of the show, got up, walked off set, disappeared. And Reggie Watts chimed in and said, "Thank you, James is so grateful that you all came out here today. You know, it's a really important part of the show and we're really appreciative." But like literally not a single word from Corden. Not a single word.
Fucking hate him.
It
No,
was
I've never actually
so
seen
off-putting.
him, but I just never liked his face.
No, I just immediately
Or his
got
vibe.
the vibe that it was like, nah, you don't seem like a nice person.
Seems like a two-faced guy.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that Jimmy Fallon's a bit of a likes a drink.
Yeah,
Have you heard that?
yeah.
We just gossip now about
It's
late
just
night
gossip.
hosts. Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite late night host?
Myers, easily.
Whoa!
Easily.
Guess who mine is? You could guess it, I reckon.
Is it Colbert?
Good podcasting. Nah, it's not.
So it's not Myers, it's not Colbert, it's not Fallon, it's not Corden. Kimmel?
Yeah, baby, he's the best.
Really?
He's the best one. I love him.
I like him.
Now he's got the opposite vibe of Corden. You like him? That surprises me because he's done like the Man Show. He's a bit blokey.
Yeah, but that's what I like about him is actually the fact that he used to be that guy, and then he's really changed. He's become more outwardly emotional and political. All that stuff about his kid and his wife was really heartfelt. His advocacy for women's rights and things has really become a forefront, and same with like medical care, that sort of thing. He's really explicitly spoken about that more in recent years. So yeah, he's risen in my estimation.
Yeah. Bill Maher's got a podcast now. I'm a big fan of Bill Maher. I know you hate him. But he did an episode with Kimmel a couple of months ago, and Kimmel's got this like huge beef with Jay Leno because of that whole Conan fiasco with Letterman. And
Leno has a beef with... Sorry. Kimmel has a beef
Kimmel hates
with
Leno.
Why?
Yeah.
Because he
just out of
sided
solidarity.
with Conan. Right. Okay, cool.
And he was also very good. Well, Dave Letterman was his like mentor.
Yeah.
And so he was just like, I'm team these guys. And they really get into this late night beef.
Yeah.
Like into the finances and stuff. Like,
Sorry, what in this podcast with Bill Maher, he talks about this. Right.
Yeah. They both get stoned actually. And they just talk about all this like the politics and behind the scenes management of late night. The dealings and stuff, the deals that were offered, the deals that were rejected. It's really good.
Interesting.
You can stomach Bill Maher for 10 minutes. I'll send you the clip.
Yeah, okay. But Bill Maher has gone off the rocker a bit for me. I don't know. He just seems like a crazy person.
I think he's probably got the most important show in the
What? What?
I think his show, Real Time, is maybe the most important show. Well, it's the only show that I've ever seen that has people from both sides of the political spectrum on for a genuine debate.
No.
And it, like that, and they work it out, and it's not like it's not like mean or anything, or it's not like it's not so partisan.
No.
I just think it's great. He's an American hero. He's my hero. I love it.
What is it about
And
you
apparently-
with vaguely centrist that ultimately end up rather conservative white figureheads and idolization?
He's
Like,
not-
where does this come from?
How is he vaguely? Well, you said he's vaguely centrist and now conservative. That's not how I see it at all. They're vaguely centrist and leaning towards liberal.
No,
but
not anymore.
You see it as vaguely Yeah, well, that's because. Why is that? That's because the world's politics has moved so far left. so that it looks like they're conservative.
Yeah, they have stayed the same, and in fact are resistant towards that evolution in so many ways. So they end up closer to the right than they were when they started, and
I would
that's
argue that it's not necessarily an evolution.
right. But society over time becomes more liberal. That's just the state of all of it. Everything is always
Sure,
historically more liberal than it was 100 years ago and 100 years before that. All of
sure.
it slides that way. The other thing, I'm not going to call Bill Maher a modern day conservative in the sense that modern day GOP politics are fucking like insane, loopy Trumpist kind of crazies. But I think he's now slid
Yeah.
into a classical conservative position
Yeah, and by that you
in
mean
terms of like
because of the
50
virtue
years
of the
ago.
fact he is conserving his views that from the noughties or the
Yeah,
90s.
from the noughties, 90s, that era. Yeah.
It's
I
interesting.
think that the more liberal talking points have pulled further left, and the more conservative parties have headed way right. And so where he was in center left has now in that spectrum ended up more conservative than it was due to that broadening of where society currently is and where the leftist and rightist views have headed it.
But don't you think that it's just on the superficial issues, like on things like women's rights and abortion and I don't know euthanasia and gay marriage and stuff? Like, are you saying that those issues are like old news?
No, because
Because
I mean, yes, in some ways, but like Bill Maher's positions on some of that stuff is more like conservative shit. I'm trying to find
what
good
is it?
examples of stuff that he's talked about recently.
Well, I watch his show almost every week,
Yeah,
and I really don't think he's conservative.
I only see the
The
controversies as
clips,
they
sure.
spew up.
What he does have is like he has a gripe with millennials, which is the oldest he sounds is when he talks about millennials, which is a lot.
Yeah,
He's like, his view of millennials is that all millennials are just looking at their phones all the time,
yeah.
like that kind of thing. Which is kind
There
of
was the
true.
anti-vax stuff that I saw that really put me off Bill Maher because
Anti-vax.
he was bringing anti-vax people on and talking about the
So
links between vaccines and autism, and Bill Maher sided with that guy. What was his name? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Yeah, so like that kind of stuff where like that whole like we've trod this ground so much now, but like
yeah, we
that
don't
old
have to
thing of
go
like
there.
okay, let's bring on both sides of the issue to talk about it. I don't think that you can do that unless you're willing to fact check people in the course of that discussion. Otherwise, it just becomes platforming without context. And so either you have a format which allows both sides of the debate to state their opinions, and then you weigh in with a factual reconciliation of what those positions represent, or you're really just not like you're just giving a platform to people whose beliefs are not scientifically valid.
Okay, well, I disagree, but I don't think we should talk about this.
You think that there is value
I
to having unscientific viewpoints aired in a public place without verification?
Well, I think within the context of Bill Maher's show, when people do have, you know, unsubstantiated claims, they're often made fun of. Well, not made fun of, but throughout the course of the discussion, in my experience watching the show, it seems that they are, in a sense, ridiculed. He had who was Trump's media, Kellyanne
Kellyanne
Conway.
Conway.
Kellyanne Conway.
Yeah.
She was on. They had a one chat. I mean, that's an example of someone who's just got crazy views on things, or she just sees the world in a completely different way than you or I or Bill Maher.
Uh-huh.
And he eviscerated her and kind of made a fool of her. I mean, I feel that his show is actually pretty balanced, and if you want a world where people who don't necessarily have the right idea on things, don't have a voice, then I think what you're going to do is just kind of you're going to lose the discourse, and you need that argument to take place openly, and you need people to be able to watch a debate on a show like that, on a,
But
primetime slot
why
or
does
whatever it
that?
is.
Why does it have to happen in a comedian's context? Can't
Well,
that
it's not
debate
happening anywhere
happen?
else.
Can't yes, of course it is. Can't that debate happen on
Where
any of the other news shows that do it all the fucking time?
they don't do it all the time.
Of course
They've
they do.
all those. Well, what news network in America isn't partisan?
Well, CNN will constantly bring on people from both sides of the um, an issue, the debate on, say, vaccines or I don't know, trans kids or whatever, and fill up a screen with six voices in different boxes all having an opinion, and a journalist there to curate the debate.
But you know that CNN is left leaning from the get go, so it's not
I
like a
don't
fair fight.
I don't think that CNN is universally seen as left leaning. I think they're seen as fairly centrist. MSNBC, I would say, absolutely left. But I think CNN is seen as fairly neutral.
Okay.
Anyway,
Well,
I guess I'm just saying that I don't
yeah.
think that this only happens this can only happen because Bill Maher's facilitating it.
Okay.
Okay.
Can't be bothered. Can't be bothered going first. I can't be bothered. I've got a question for you. This was put to me yesterday. I thought it was fun.
Okay.
It might be a little bit like needing you to think on the spot. So if it is, then whatever.
I don't like doing that.
No. It kind of ties into what we're talking about, though. Is there something that you thought for ages, like that you'd been thinking your whole life, and then realized it was wrong, and you were just like, oh, I've just been thinking. It could be anything. My example for this was that I thought for ages, like for up until a couple of years ago, that for all intents and purposes was intensive purposes. So I'd just been saying for all intensive purposes, but could be
It's a
anything.
good question. It's a hard one to
It is a good question.
think of just spontaneously.
Yeah.
I don't have a great one ready to go, but there is something which I have been recently aware of the updated sort of medicine on, which is the fat people thing. And I guess historically, growing up, there is a stigma around overweight people where it's commonly reinforced that there is a laziness or an intrinsic kind of failure which has resulted in people being overweight. And I have recently seen in the past few years some studies and some discourse talking about how actually for some people there is biological differences in the way that our bodies store fat, and that they can eat fucking 0 calories, like so little, and still be overweight and be starving their whole fucking day, eat nothing but good food, exercise frequently, and still have a body type which is larger than that, and than that sort of like societal expectation. And so that's been an interesting sort of adjustment that I have actively tried to make, which is to take away perhaps some of the perceptions and judgment around that, because I think there has been a specific movement towards love yourself, love your body, and that kind of thing, and I think it's easy for people to be cynical about that, but I have tried to be more aware of that biological difference and how it difficult it must be if you are conscious about your body type to then perhaps
Right.
have an uphill battle against your own unchangeable biology
Mm.
and the psychological pressures that must put on you from society.
I think that's a good one. And it's also very uh, funny that you mentioned that because James Corden and Bill Maher had that beef. Do you remember that?
No,
About he called James Corden fat, and then James Corden did this like monologue about how you shouldn't call people fat.
I vaguely remember that, but yeah.
It was a thing. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I've been thinking a little bit about that recently as well. Um, it is easy to slip into judgment. I think yes, the love yourself movement is good for mental health, broadly speaking, in terms of not especially in the social media era, especially when teenagers are, spending a lot of time on Instagram and seeing people's best versions of themselves. But then it's also you don't want to go too far and just say, you know, well, I mean, being fat is a health risk. Having more visceral fat on your body leads to a greatly higher chance of getting cancer and heart disease. Could
Yeah,
jump
but
in. I can see you want
but
to say
there's
something.
even nuances in that which is coming out now in some of the studies, and to be clear, generally 100% true. But there are people. I think they said something like 10 to 20% of people who are, at least on BMI terms, obese. When
Hmm.
you actually go and measure their other vital signs, take their blood samples, that kind of thing, they're actually perfectly healthy. So, like in
Hmm.
terms of cholesterol levels, in terms of blood pressure, in terms of all that kind of thing, there are people who can be obese according to some of those metrics and entirely healthy, and there is that very valid possibility. So, I 100% agree with you that there are
Hmm.
definitely connections for like heart disease and all kinds of those other disorders we all know about. But there is also this not insignificant subportion where it isn't true, and yeah,
Sure.
it's just interesting to now come to a place where some of that science is out there saying that your perceptions are not 100% necessarily true.
Yes. And I think compassion always and trying to be understanding and not judgmental, even though being judgmental is obviously the easy thing, especially when you're just looking at a stranger or someone sitting next to you on an airplane and you're pissed off that you've got a little bit less room. It is very easy to slip into judgment, but then like if you break it down, that person is almost certainly aware of, if they're morbidly obese, say, they're certainly aware of their presence, and aware that they're fat, and they probably don't like it, and yeah, it is like a little bit of like you want to say, well, just get on a treadmill or just put down the chips, and I think that's probably true for a lot of cases of fat people. Like you could really just
There is a
try a bit harder, but if you want to,
I
if it's
wouldn't
worth it enough.
necessarily always say try a little bit harder, but there is definitely the case for a lot of people that it is changeable, right? That there are changes that could be made in either in diet, exercise, or whatever. It may not be the case that they're not trying. They could be fucking trying
Yeah.
their guts out and not getting anywhere. And for a whole variety of other reasons, like it could be very hard for them to eat healthily if they're fucking poor. And the only food they have
Mm.
access to is cheap things. Or maybe they're working, crazy nights or shifts or that kind of thing, and you
Mm.
don't have the time to cook a decent meal or to go out and buy something healthy. There are always going to be other factors beyond just like put down the chips. But at the same time, I think you are right that there is now this interesting gray zone where we are in an area where it's like, yes, love your body. Yes, sometimes being fat doesn't mean you're unhealthy. Yes, sometimes being fat can be biologically just your natural body state.
Mm.
But also wanting to encourage generally being more active because there are a whole bunch of other like psychological and physical benefits to activity. So
Yeah,
where do you walk this tightrope now to find good messaging that communicates to people that need to hear it in an encouraging way without being off-putting or denigrating or dismissive or discouraging? It's a very tricky PR health message question, right?
totally. And I think social media is like a big part of it as well. Now, especially with teenagers who well, I mean, we didn't have social media growing up, so we had this kind of weird idealization of just the people that were on TV or in the movies. But now for girls especially, I imagine, and I mean boys have body issues as well. Wanting to look like a Ryan Gosling or Chris Hemsworth. I mean that still exists for boys, but I do feel like for girls it is something that they constantly think about more than boys. I mean, I never really thought about my body or how thinking. I never felt like I needed to be muscly until I was like 25, and then I was like, look at those fucking arms, you skinny bitch. But I think girls have that from a very early age.
And it might be different for guys
that's
now today, actually, in a social media world. I
in what
think
sense?
well, I just think that there might be more visibility and more pressure and more, images being pushed at teenagers these days than we grew up with. So maybe that also then correlates more to pressure on guys.
Yeah, yeah,
But also, that can also be for overweight guys, is the other thing. There'll be fat kids or fat teens who are still feeling that pressure in the same way that overweight girls might, but perhaps to a different definition of fat or different degree of fat.
yeah. And the other thing is that society already, even if they are putting up curvier women up on swimsuit catalogs, or people are praising Lizzo for being big, owning a big and beautiful whatever, that's all well and good, but I think society itself kind of selects for people who aren't fat.
Yeah.
I feel like I shouldn't be using the word fat for
No,
some
I
reason.
mean, that's a fair
I am.
descriptor.
But in terms of like sexual preference, for people, people who aren't fat typically get selected over, what's the other word? Svelte?
Overweight? Svelte?
No,
Svelte is
what's
skinny.
the normal version? Just like medium, average people,
Sure.
let's say. And I think even in a professional sense, I think I can see how that could play a factor as well. And especially if there is that implicit judgment, if someone is fat and they're going for a job, it's feasible that the interviewer might make a connection between they're not looking after themselves, even if they're trying their guts out,
Yeah.
trying to get into shape.
Yeah.
There might be a connection made between they're not looking after themselves, how they're gonna manage this portfolio. I don't know, classic job to speak just there, but
Yeah.
like, it could be that.
But I think you're totally describing something which has 100% happened.
Yeah,
And probably disproportionately towards women.
totally.
An overweight man,
So,
I would say, is probably more likely to still get the job versus an overweight woman.
well, yeah, that's the historical thing as well. Like kings, kings have been, painted as, kind of fat almost. Male.
Well,
Male royalty
that was
is
the
like this fat
status
opulent.
symbol, because having access to food in famine times and Middle Ages, that was rich and desirable, because that meant that you could feed yourself, gorge yourself. That was status. And now this is new news, but now looking skinny is status.
Yeah, it's like your ability to abstain or self control. I guess that's what it is. But isn't that weird that your idea of what is attractive is so informed by culture?
Yeah.
I just find that so crazy that can even be a thing.
Yeah, that's
But I
interesting.
guess it's
And I
just from a
suppose,
young age. It's like it's when
yeah,
you're in your formative years.
I
That's
was
when
going to
it's that's
say
when
it's media.
you're building your ideas of the world and like what's valued and what's not.
Yeah,
And
and
then
I
that's
wonder
when
how
you
that
start to.
interconnects with the exoticism thing, because I think we've talked about previously that sort of
Oh yeah.
animalistic DNA variance kind of thing,
Mm,
where foreignness or exoticism is seen as desirable because it's, you
yeah.
know, a not too close genetic partner. So I wonder how that
Mm,
intersects with a different cultures, different aesthetics and body types and goals, and whether or not that a body type which is seen as less desirable in our own culture is still seen as desirable in a different culture because there's also a foreignness to it.
yeah. It's also we're really getting into it here, but I love it. It's also, don't you just think like tits are weird? Like, not that they're weird, but that they're so prized as the epitome of, for obviously Nick, not for you. Titties
Oh,
not for you, but for the rest of us,
why can't I
for
enjoy man
everyone
titties?
else, you can't. No one enjoys a man titty.
Of course they
No one.
do.
Okay, somewhere on OnlyFans, someone enjoys a man titty, but
Okay. Have you not heard of chests before? Pectorals.
oh well, we're talking about different things.
Yes.
Pecs, I'll get around every day of the
Sure. That's
week.
what a man titty is.
No, it isn't. A man titty is a saggy titty, a
No, you're talking
saggy
about
man boobs.
moobs.
Am I talking about moobs?
Yeah.
I thought I was talking about middies.
Okay. I don't know what a MIDI is, and maybe you're correct that there's a new terminology for that that's sprung up.
Anyway,
We've
distracting me from my very important point.
tits are weird.
That tits are weird, man. Tits are weird.
There is that who was it? I forget, that photoshopped. So it was a protest against the nudity prevention, or like the AI tools and processes on social media that would allow a shirtless man but not a shirtless woman, and someone pasted male nipples over her breasts to make the point that, well, if it's fine for them, then why can't it be fine for me? I forget who did it, but I thought that was a
That
fairly
sounds interesting.
astute question.
Yeah, that is. It's weird that like you can cover the nipple in a breast, and that's for somehow
then
that's
it's fine.
censoring.
Yeah, and then it's fine.
Doesn't make like we know it. We know what's there.
Yeah, and a man's nipple can be shown. So what is it?
But yeah, it feels like this old. It feels like primitive or like religious almost. It feels like it's come from that time.
Yeah.
It's a hangover.
What's that famous there was the censorship question when talking about pornography, and the line was, "I'll know it when I see it." And I wonder if the thing with breasts is you can't define it, but I don't know. Are straight guys looking at bare female breasts and getting like turned on? Like, is that a thing? Because if it's a thing, then maybe there is some rationale behind it, right?
But it's all yeah.
Or is that cultural? Like, is the only reason that that's a turn on for some people because it used to be taboo, and that if you didn't make it taboo, then it wouldn't be a turn on, and thus, you could have that equality.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back to my early sexual awakening a couple of years ago, and just thinking that like when you see like a breast in like a film or something, and then all of a sudden you see the nipple, it's just like, oh, there it is. Like it's completed. The whole thing is complete.
It's like
But
putting
before
the
that,
final
it's
piece
just
of the
like,
puzzle in.
oh, it's like kind of mysterious and like it's that sexy in its own. But then when you see the nipple, you're like, now it's on. Like, so yeah.
I've never had such
Maybe I'm part of the problem.
An explicit description of like the straight man's brain.
Yeah.
The little voice going, "Oh yeah, now it's on."
Now it's on, baby. My first the first time I think that ever happened for me was in a film. We used to have these. We used to have a lot of movies around my house on VHS, and they'd be recorded from free to air TV.
Uh-huh.
And one of those movies was Striptease with Demi Moore.
Okay.
I feel like I've spoken about this before, but in that film, this is like a very young Demi Moore. Maybe it doesn't matter how old she is, but she gets her kit off in that movie. She's a stripper, and when it's towards the end of the film, I think from memory, that she takes her top off, and you see her nipple for the first time, and
Young Michael.
that was a formative moment for me, I would say.
Right.
Formative to me more.
I don't know that there was
weird to think about that. You think so? It sounds so old.
Yeah, I mean, Demi Moore is not a modern reference.
No.
I don't think that there was such a thing for me because you just didn't see sexualized men on screen. If they were shirtless, it was like a
Troy.
Rambo kind of. Well, Troy was a bit later, but like a Rambo kind of, like hyper masculine kind of violent connection thing. Like it was never from a female gaze or a gay gaze, so it wasn't ever ogled. It was like matter of fact or militaristic, which is just not like
Right.
I suppose it's in the same way that like a science class movie which might have a breast in it is not going to be the same thing as watching Demi Moore in a striptease movie do a striptease and take your top. Like it's a very different presentation. So I don't think I ever really had like not that I can remember, like an on-screen moment.
Did you ever like fantasize about like straight guys, even if they were in movies or whatever?
Yeah, I mean that's inevitable because there's no substitutes.
You don't need them to be gay in order to be attracted to them.
No. Wait. Say that again. Oh, I don't need them to be gay to be attracted to them. No. No, of course not. Yeah. And that's because there have not been gay people out on screen until very recently. Like there just wasn't even, that wasn't even a thing.
Yeah. Now, have you seen Bros?
It's not out yet. Next week.
It's not out yet.
I'm very excited too.
I've heard it's really good, but it tanked.
I've heard it's really good too, but I don't think that they really got the box office response that they were looking for. Which is a shame.
Looks good.
And I'm looking for it here, and it's looking like it's playing in like indie theaters, not in a Hoyts. And that really surprised me. I don't get why it's not in a wide release. And I don't know if that's because it tanked in the US already, or if it was never going to be widely shown here. But it feels like it could have. I have not seen any ads for it. So I feel like they're just saving their money.
It's it'll be interesting to see how it plays out here. I've heard a bit of the discussion, about how the box office numbers in the US, about how disappointing they are, and that suggests that America is still not ready for a gay lead or a gay story. But they've done Brokeback Mountain, and
you know what? I feel like it's just more of a marketing thing. In the sense
think it is
that
too. Like, don't make it be like this is the gay movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get why you would make that point, but I feel like that might then have the consequence of making it feel like it's not for straight people. But I don't know how you market it in a way that feels inclusive. I guess I would have lent more. I saw a lot of Billy Eichner around the place on the talk shows, which is fair enough. Mm-hmm. He wrote it and he stars in it. But I didn't see Apatow talk about it as much.
And
I feel like if you wanted Apatow out there and you were like, hey, I directed Bridesmaids, we've got Forgetting Sarah Marshall in this lineage, like these are movies that you liked and here's my next one. I think that could have swung it a bit more.
100%. That's bang on the money, I reckon. Like, I think they do mention
he talked about
it's produced by him, right?
Yeah.
Produced?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if they've done like from the producer of, Pineapple Express.
I think here and there, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's what they should have done. They should have thrown Apatow's name behind it a bit more.
Yeah, and like literally got him out there interviewing a bit more. But yeah,
But people don't really know Billy Eichner. Like Joe Blow doesn't know Billy Eichner.
no, and to his credit as well, they decided to do that thing of cast only gay people in it, which is cool, but it does mean that there are no co-stars there that are recognizable names as well. So it was an aspirational thing, and it was an opening the door kind of move by Eichner to give these people opportunities that you wouldn't always get. But I do think that if you had Paul Rudd there as, the best friend or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you've got a few more names on the poster that you're like, oh, I like Paul Rudd. I'll go see this.
Yeah, that'd be interesting if they had like a big name as the, how they've that trope of having like the gay best friend, but it's always the side. The straight best friend that's like not in it too much, but is like a bit, maybe not sassy or whatever, but like they have like a quirk to them. It's like a B character.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting. I mean, maybe they do that. I don't know.
They could
to
do
have
it,
like a proper
name.
name.
Yeah. I'm very keen to it. To see it, but there is literally, I've had it open actually on my screen for a few days waiting for the next week's movie times to appear, because it's this Thursday that it comes out here, and there's literally only one showing on Sunday night at one indie theater, and it could just be because I haven't put up that times for other places just yet. That tends to be Mondays, but it's not like a great sign that there's not a full regimen of it coming.
Yeah. Yep. Hopefully it's funny though.
Did you watch Fire Island?
What's that?
Fire Island was the Joel Kim, Boosty Bowen Yang gay kind of comedy anti-rom-com thing from earlier in the year.
Show or movie?
Movie. And it was okay. Joel Kim Booster had written it himself. And I don't think he was like a great writer. And by the end of it, like it was kind of the rom-com moment. And Casey and I watched it. And at the end of it, Casey said, "This is why they shouldn't make movies like this for gay people." He was just like, "Oh, no, don't do that."
Yeah.
If you've enjoyed the Ruddcast, because we've talked about Rudd quite a lot, then check out more episodes of it in the feed. We were on deepfort.podbean.com. We're on our Facebook page at Deepfort, on Instagram, though not for long if we put up some of the nipples. Twitter for latest notifications. You can send questions to deepfort@gmail.com. You can... There must be another one, but you know what? I'm not going to bother about it today because we've all got places to be. So why don't you just get on with your life and not fuss about it, is my takeaway from today.
Good attitude. Oh, you know what we didn't talk about? Good reminder. Last episode, are we thinking the same thing? There was a little bit of division about what was it? The thing with the do you remember?
What are you talking about? Division
it's
about
like the shit.
The animal shit. Is that what you're talking about?
Animal shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got some follow up.
We got some follow up.
Okay.
And I should probably work out what this is, but so can you just give the background again? Not just for the listeners, but also for me.
So it was there was a tweet going around about the various phrases: chicken shit being cowardly, dog shit being like crappy. I forget the other ones. Bat shit meaning crazy, that kind of thing. And I had posed to you that there was an opportunity there to find new animals and new definitions and fill out some of that menagerie a little bit more. So we went through a list with whale shit and rat shit, alpaca shit, a few other ones of our own creation. Squid shit was a good one, snake shit, and just rattled a few of those off and had some ideas. And I think we had other people then coming back to us with a few more suggestions or some criticisms about how we'd defined these words.
We did indeed, and I'll I'll read a couple out. We got a response from Maggie,
Uh-huh.
who's just a huge fan, Nick.
That's
Always
very
listening,
exciting. Thank you,
always
Maggie.
messaging, very active. Be more like Maggie. Message us about things that you liked or hated about the show. Maggie said that rat shit. Did we say what rat shit was?
So rat shit, we'd ended up with either traitorous or untrustworthy, or maybe like stingy or cheap.
Yep. Maggie strongly disagreed with this and said that rat shit is about quality.
Okay.
The quality of the show is rat shit.
Okay,
So
like it's
a little bit
low
different
and
there.
low quality.
Yep. She also had an issue with squid shit. Do you remember what we said for that one?
We said it was unreliable.
Unreliable. Maggie said squid shit should be intellectual and confusing shit, like to describe a weird geek. For example, talking about different universes. That squid shit isn't for me.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah. She's also clarified that with crow shit, medieval scary vibes.
Yep. We didn't have a
I think we can
definition
agree on
for
that
crow
one.
shit, I think. I talked about it, but I didn't have one.
Parrot, this is still Maggie. Parrot shit should be like, been there, done that.
I don't know
He's
that
just
works.
talking parrot shit.
I don't know that works because parrot's already kind of its own thing by itself.
Sure.
Like if you're
And,
parroting someone, it kind of feels like you're saying the same thing. It's got to be it has to have a slightly different nuance with the word shit on the end. It can't just be the same thing. I don't think.
I agree. And alpaca shit is like another version of full of shit.
Yeah.
Alpaca of shit equals made up all of shit.
Yeah.
I think she was a bit drunk at this point. But thanks, Maggie.
Thank you, Maggie. Agree with those.
We also, I know this might be laborious. Laborious?
Mm-hmm. Good use of the word until you then questioned yourself and made it less authoritative.
I'll never change. Casper said, so he's also got an opinion on rat shit. He said rat shit is already slang.
Okay.
So it's already in the vernacular.
Really?
Vernacular,
He's
am I
hearing
using that
rat
right?
shits out on the street.
There's rat shits out on the street. Apparently. He's currently in Spain though at the moment. So he might
that's
be
probably
hearing
where it's
different
coming
things.
up. Yeah.
A lot of rats on the street. And he says, and coincidentally, the meaning is as you imagined it. Okay, so we got that one right, apparently, according
Traitorous
to
or
Casper's.
untrustworthy.
Squid shit. He said, also forget squid shit, but I think just saying squid could be a swear word.
Oh.
Like, oh, damn it.
Right.
Squid.
Oh, squid. I mean, it does have a
not bad.
musicality, like all the good swears.
It's a pretty good word. Squid.
Yeah. It does sound like one of
not
those whenever there's like a time traveling character that comes from the 2070s, like back to our age, and they've made up new slang. It does sound a little bit like that, when like, oh, that's so doink, and you're like, okay, I know what you're trying to get at, but it doesn't work.
Yes. Isn't that weird though that we're like, there's going to be like in 200 years time, people will be talking slightly differently.
Totally.
In 1,000 years time, they're going to be talking real different.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you just love to hear how they're talking?
Yeah, that's going to
Like
be
people
fascinating.
who are living in 1200 AD,
Yeah.
like they could keep up with a conversation, but like they'd be like, what the fuck? It's got like something's
Well,
just a bit
1200
off here.
would be quite different still from what we're talking today.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like if
'Cause
someone
everyone had
was
English accents.
if someone in the year 3000 was learning English, it'd be like us learning Latin, right? Like it'd be so fucking old school.
It wouldn't though. It wouldn't be that far removed, I don't think.
Well, what were they talking in the year 1000?
Was it? I mean, I don't know. I just imagine. I mean, when was Shakespeare? Or
Shakespeare
like, I
was
know Shakespeare
1600s.
talk, and then anything before that, I'm like, you're all Shakespeare, okay? It's like you're Shakespeare from like 1600, and then all the way back
and then it's just
to
Egypt.
whenever English was invented for the first time.
Yeah.
That's the earliest version of that.
Sure.
But I don't know. Before that, I don't know. Wasn't everyone speaking Arabic? I don't know.
Okay. I don't think that we're sounding very knowledgeable at the moment.
We don't need to.
Um, was that the end of that message?
Yes, that was
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Um, I
All
could
right.
sort of.
Bye.